Here's the strange part. The Motorola Moto G Stylus 2026 is basically the same phone as last year, but somehow costs $100 more. And that raises a very simple question. What exactly are you paying for? Before we jump in, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. It really helps me keep bringing you more tech breakdowns like this one. On paper, this should have been an easy win. Motorola already had a solid formula with the previous model. Decent performance, a big screen, and that rare built-in stylus. All they had to do was refine it, maybe upgrade the chip, improve the cameras, and keep the price competitive. Instead, what we got feels more like a remix than a real upgrade. And that matters, because this phone now sits in a much more competitive price range. At $599, it's no longer a safe budget pick. It's going up against stronger, more polished devices that offer better performance, longer software support, and more meaningful improvements year over year. So expectations are naturally higher. Now, to be fair, not everything here is disappointing. Let's start with what actually changed. The biggest upgrade is the stylus, and this is genuinely a good one. Motorola switched from a basic passive stylus to an active one. That means you now get pressure sensitivity, tilt detection, and much better palm rejection. Writing notes feels smoother, sketching is more precise, and overall, it finally feels like a proper stylus experience instead of just a gimmick. There are also some thoughtful software features built around it. You can quickly jot down notes, use shortcuts, and even do things like circle to search directly with the stylus. If you're someone who actually uses a stylus regularly, this is easily the highlight of the phone. Battery life also gets a small bump. The phone now has a 5,200 mAh battery instead of 5,000. In real-world use, that translates to solid all-day performance, especially for browsing and video streaming. Charging is still fast, too, with 68-watt wired charging getting you close to full in under an hour. Durability is another quiet upgrade. You now get IP69 water resistance on top of IP68, plus some added drop protection. That's not something you usually see in this price range, so it's definitely a plus. But here is where things start to fall apart. Almost everything else is unchanged. The display, same 6.7-inch AMOLED, same 120Hz refresh rate. Motorola claims higher brightness, but in real-world usage, the difference is barely noticeable. Performance? Still running the same Snapdragon 6 Gen 3 as last year. It's fine for everyday tasks, social media, browsing, light gaming, but it's not exciting, and it's definitely starting to feel dated, especially when newer chips are already available. Cameras? Also the same, a 50-megapixel main sensor and a 13-megapixel ultra-wide. Photos are decent in good lighting, but you'll notice over-sharpening and some inconsistencies if you look closely. Video is acceptable, but not impressive, with issues like focus hunting still present. And then there's software support. This is a big one. You only get 3 years of support and just 2 major Android updates. That's noticeably behind what competitors are offering at this price. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, it's hard to ignore the core issue. This is last year's phone with a better stylus and a slightly bigger battery for $100 more. And that brings us to the real question. Should you actually buy it? If you specifically want a phone with a built-in stylus, your options are extremely limited. And in that context, this phone still makes sense. It also keeps some rare features alive, like a micro SD card slot and a 3.5mm headphone jack, which a lot of people still appreciate. But outside of that niche, it's a tough sell. Because the reality is, if you can find last year's Moto G Stylus at a lower price, you're getting almost the exact same experience for less money. And if you're open to other brands, there are simply better value options in this price range. So the Moto G Stylus 2026 isn't a bad phone, it's just a confusing one. It improves in a few areas, stands still in most, and somehow ends up costing more. And that's what makes it so hard to recommend without hesitation. What's your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments section. See you in the next video. Take care.